Welcome back, everybody. This is Tucker. Let's talk weather. This week, our weather pattern slows down a lot. That means persistent rain for many of you, and we'll talk about how long. And with the chance of rain comes the threat of severe weather. We'll talk about the hazards, and I'll tell you who's at risk. Welcome back in, everyone. Hope you've had a nice weekend. It's been pretty summery in a lot of spots. I hope you're enjoying that too. We got a big player in our weather right now. You can see it. It's really standing out on the map next to me. It's this low pressure system right in here, and you can see we actually have a warm front that extends through New England, which has made it quite summery out there. But it's occluded, so you also got a colder front here, and that's bringing some drier air to the southeast, some cooler weather, and for now at least it is mild and kind of rainy out there in the northeast too. You also have areas though in the north central US. I mean, look, it's picture perfect. You don't see a cloud in the sky out there. That's high pressure, and you actually have this ridge which extends into Texas as well. But what you may not notice here is actually our next system is already developing in here. You see all those storm clouds popping up off the mountains? That's going to be our next round of severe weather and rain. And this guy here, by the way, well, our weather pattern's moving pretty slow, like I said, and it is not going to leave us anytime soon. So this is really, really interesting, guys. The jet stream typically is pretty flat. It moves fast. You know, it's like a straight road. You can drive really quick on it. However, it's really not going to be like that at all this week. And when it gets curvy, just like when you're driving on a road, you got to slow down a bit. That's exactly what we're seeing on the map right now. And that low pressure system I was talking about, it is completely cut off. You can see it's a complete bowl, a circle there. Just a log jammed up in what would be a smooth jet stream. And we also have a huge dip in the jet stream out west. And believe it or not, it's actually going to get cut off around this low too. Anywhere you see those closed circles, that's the center of a low pressure system. And the polar branch of our jet stream is completely cut off and is going to stay to our north, so it's not going to help to move things along. Here's what happens as I put this in motion, and we're going to move this through Monday and even into Tuesday. And what you're seeing is really no loosening in this pattern. You still have two complete bowling balls, actually, as we say in meteorology, that are just completely chopping off the jet stream. And again, you can see the polar branch so far north, it's barely on the screen here, moving weather along in Canada, but in the US, these two low pressure systems are going to sit and spin for days, and that's going to keep those rain chances persistent in many areas. Moving this along through Wednesday and Thursday, I'll just keep moving this till they begin to get out of the way. And you can finally see here on Thursday, we do get one of them to start to move off. That first one begins to exit stage right. We still got this guy here though, and you can actually see at the same time, this is our low pressure system, we actually have a ridge of high pressure developing up here. And this is what we call a Rex block. And with Rex blocks, again, they really jam up the jet stream because now the jet stream is sort of being forced to do something funky like this and get going. And that just slows things down significantly. So as we head into the weekend, that Rex block will be in place. And that's good news, actually, if you're in the north central US. High pressure is a good thing here. But if you don't like the weather you have, I mean, it's really looking kind of blech, to say the least. We still have another low pressure system that'll be slow moving in the northeast. And then eventually, as we get into the weekend, and really more so into next week, we begin to see this massive ridge out west develop. And that is going to shut down severe weather for at least a period of time here into the early and middle parts of May. High pressure, it prevents those storms from getting into the US. But at least it should help to get the jet stream moving again once we're able to get that second low pressure system out of here. By the way, guys, if you're not subscribed, really consider doing so because I love to teach the weather as I give the forecast, not just throw some numbers at you. With that said, let's get into what you're going to see at the ground this week. And what we're going to be looking at is the rain, as I mentioned. And you can see the rain on Monday continuing across a good chunk of the northeast out here, especially New England and the mid-Atlantic. Still got these storms that'll be popping up across the mountains in the west, and we do have a severe weather threat that we'll show you. In fact, I'll give you the outlook on that coming up here, but that's going to impact much of the south central US here too. Moving this along through Tuesday and into Wednesday, you can still see plenty of rain out there in the south central US, plenty of rain in the northeast, plenty of rain in the Rocky Mountains. You know, it's going to be relatively dry in the north central US, which is good, and across the west coast, at least at the middle of the week here. But here we are Wednesday, still raining in the northeast, still in the south central. And finally on Thursday, we begin to see some of that break up, but only some, as even on Thursday, it's still going to be raining across much of the south central. The southeast will get in on this too. There will be a very, very brief break in the Northeast, but that rain is coming right back. And as we continue to move this forward, now getting into Friday, you're seeing that rain returns in the Northeast. It'll be pretty widespread. Still a chance for some storms in the South Central and Southeast. But we are at least reasonably dry across the north central U.S. and still pretty dry across the West Coast. So good news if you're out in California or up in Minnesota or something like that. But there's your rain. That second storm system continuing to just crush the East Coast. Not seeing much severe weather, but definitely wet weather. And finally, once that Rex block comes into play towards the end of the weekend, you can see generally clearer weather across the U.S. here. Other than a couple showers that could get in, it does seem to be improving. In terms of rainfall amounts, I'm just going to move this through the week, and you can see the rainfall totals, and it'll really tell us where the rain is going to fall and where it'll stay dry. And it's pretty clear. It's mainly going to be across the southern and eastern tiers of the U.S. Anywhere you got those red colors, that's 3+ inches of rain. That's a lot. Gold colors are 5+. That's where you talk about the chance for some flooding after all these days of rain. But you can see our one, we'll call it, gap, I suppose, out here, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. Hey, look at that. That's perfect. And out here on the West Coast, we're seeing much drier conditions, and those are the places to be this week. Otherwise, obviously, a lot of rain falling through the South Central, Southeast, and East Coast. And definitely going to be a week to keep the rain jacket, keep the umbrella with you. But if you have a chance to escape to, I guess, the upper Mississippi River Valley or the West Coast, well, now might be your chance. And before we get into those severe weather chances, thought I'd show you this map too, which just gives us an idea of, through the course of this work week, where it'll be warmer and colder than average. And no surprise, we're going to see a lot of that rain. Temperatures will be cooler than average, although the East Coast may be an exception to that rule. Of course, it will be warmer than average across much of the north central U.S., where it is going to be sunny, and that goes to the West Coast as well, where conditions are generally going to be dry as well. So cooler where it's going to be rainy, warmer where it's going to be sunny, of course. The one exception, like I said, is out here in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, where they'll be on the warm side of many of those systems. I'm from Boston. I'm at least looking forward to a mild rain, so to speak. Severe weather will be pretty confined to the south central U.S., at least as we begin this week here on Monday, but there is still a chance for some strong to severe storms in the mid-Atlantic and out here on the Atlantic coastline of Florida. But we still have this level 2 and even level 3 risk for severe weather in the middle there across portions of western Texas. Because there is not much flow, not a lot of energy in the jet stream, this is largely going to be a hail threat out here in Texas. Still a chance for a tornado, damaging wind possible as well, but hail is going to be the biggest concern. Out here in the mid-Atlantic, we could have a very random, isolated, damaging wind gust or large hail event, but that's about it. In Florida, the same deal. A low chance for a tornado, but again, nothing substantial in those areas here on Monday. You'll notice here on Tuesday, things don't change too much. There's a chance for some non-severe thunderstorms in the Northeast. We could get a level 1 severe risk somewhere in the mid-Atlantic or upstate New York again, but I think it's pretty unlikely. Same deal out here with Florida. We have this level 2 severe weather risk across a good chunk of southeast Texas. And once again, it's primarily going to be the hail concern. Could be a damaging wind gust. There's a low chance for a tornado too, but overall not a super big severe weather threat. Again, because our jet stream is not providing a lot of energy for storms to feed off of. They do require not just the heat, humidity, but the wind in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere as well. And if we turn to some of our machine learning products here, we checked off Tuesday looking at that outlook, but here on Wednesday and Thursday, still hinting at a very low threat for severe weather in the southeastern U.S. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a level 1 out of 5 risk on Wednesday and Thursday just for some pulse severe storms, which is really when you get storms like in the summertime. They get strong, they get really tall, and they kind of, as they begin to fade, they dump a bunch of wind out at once, and you can get a damaging wind gust out of that. I could see a very, low severe weather risk in those areas, like I said, on your Wednesday and Thursday. But as a whole, without the flow, without the jet stream, this is going to be a much more summer-like pattern when you don't have the same kind of wind energy that you do in the spring. We just don't have a lot moving storms, and it's going to lower that severe weather threat. So a nice, I would say, much-needed break for us in the U.S., at least through this work week and likely through the upcoming weekend. If not into the start of next week, in fact, as well. All right, guys, let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and if you have any questions, drop them there too. If there's any topics you want to learn about, you can ask about them in the comments. I may make a video about it. I'd love to do more interesting videos like that. But you know what? It's going to be a pretty quiet week, so I'm not going to try to hype anything up. I give you the weather as it is, and I just want you to enjoy it. And if you're in a place where it's going to be rainy, think of some indoor activities and just be ready for a more indoor week. But otherwise, I'll see you guys right back here very soon with another forecast update.